If you're in a perpetual cycle of wanting to succeed and wanting to do well in your life, but are continually falling into self-destructive habits to the point where you can't even control your own body and your life, this is how I made doing the good habits, doing the hard work, being disciplined and motivated easier than breathing air. But first we need to understand that motivation is dopamine, and it's extremely misunderstood. Most people think it's a source of action, but it's what rewards it. Dopamine is your brain's motivation chemical. It rewards you for doing things, and it makes your life fun. You weren't motivated before the first time that you played games all night. You remembered how good it felt last time. Your brain visualized the dopamine hit, and that pulled you in for the next all-nighter and the next. And that's how motivation works. It is the result of action. And if you're at a point where you aren't motivated to do something that is productive for you, it's because you haven't done it and you haven't visualized the rewards of doing it enough. If in your head you can visualize the rewards of doing the hard work as viscerally as you can imagine what it feels like to eat chocolate, what it feels like to play games with your friends all night, then you will be able to be motivated to do the harder task. You are visualizing the reward. That is how motivation works.
You don't need motivation. Discipline is key.
That's the most oversimplified, half-baked statement I've heard ever in my life. Yes, discipline matters, but that doesn't mean you make your life miserable. Because real discipline isn't about grinding every single day. David Goggins, I wake up and I stare at my shoelaces for 30 minutes. It's about making sure that when you don't feel like it, out of the hundreds of times that you do, that you continue to do what you're meant to do, what you're meant to do as a dutiful young man. It should be your last resort, not your lifestyle. So here's the truth. If two people does the exact same task or has the exact same purpose, but the only difference was that one enjoyed doing it and the other didn't, who would actually succeed and be consistent to the point where they'd put even more effort in, 110%? Who exactly? So stop glorifying suffering. Stop glorifying discipline when discipline is a tool that you use when motivation doesn't give you what you need. The goal is to want to do the hard things, not to endure them. But you know what's even worse than failure or procrastination? It's having zero motivation to do anything, and like a cripple, you can't even stir yourself to brush your teeth, do the everyday tasks that you have to do to survive, eat, sleep. At that point, you're stuck. And even worse, you don't even care that you're stuck. What has happened is that you've become a slave to cheap dopamine, a lower level manifestation of your purpose that is easier to achieve. Playing games and leveling up in imaginary land is much, much easier than putting the years in the gym, the mat, the cage to actually improve your physique and your capability as a man. Watching anime and visualizing yourself being the main character in this anime isn't helping you, and it's not the same as visualizing yourself as the main character of your own story, where you are watching yourself achieve these things. And by the way, if you won't even watch yourself like how you watch the anime or the manhwa manga, then that means that you are not at a point where you can actually succeed. So if you want to succeed, you will accept this and understand, yeah, right now I can't succeed. If I continue down the path that I'm going right now, continue to trust my brain in the way that I am right now, then I will not succeed. Accept that. And if you can accept it, what you can actually do from there on is to find a new avenue that will allow you to succeed, because your fate does not involve you not succeeding. From a very young age, I knew I was going to be successful. I knew I was better. Here's the reality. People with Parkinson's disease cannot move. And they literally do not have the capacity to move because they've fried their dopamine receptors. You are doing the exact same thing by choosing these cheap versions of dopamine, these lower manifestations of your goals, like Instagram, scrolling on TikTok, watching anime, playing games. All of these things lower your base level of dopamine, your motivation, willpower, and happiness. And every single time you do it and consistently do it and be motivated to do it, the lower your base level will be until it almost reaches zero. That is when you cannot brush your teeth. That is when you don't even make your bed. That is when you can't even be motivated to change. These high stimulus, low effort tasks that you're doing right now are rewiring your brain to only want to do that, which is the complete opposite of what you need to do if you want to be successful, because it is the low stimulus, high reward tasks that will give you what you want. And in order to do this, you have to control your dopamine spikes. You have to control the cheap dopamine that you're consuming and go through what I call a dopamine detox, in which you put your phone on grayscale, in which you have a screen limit, in which you understand every single time that you do that habit, that bad habit, I know you have one, you are taking away from the person who you're meant to be. You're taking away the qualities of the man that you're meant to be. This isn't about becoming a monk. This is about giving your brain the space to feel joy and feel motivation to do the hard work. Start with this mindset. Make it so easy that it's not even hard to do. In the next 2 weeks, what I want you to do is to be consistent and to make it so easy and so small that you can be consistent with it. 1 push-up, 1 page of deep journaling, 1 minute of silence or meditation. Start ridiculously small and build momentum. Consistency is more important than volume or even quality. And if you can just do this for 2 weeks, you've been consistent. And when you're consistent and when you have some sort of foundation you can build up on, all of the supplementary tasks come in as well. And so at a certain point in the 2 weeks, you're gonna be like, okay, I'm already here. Let's do 10 minutes. I'm already here. Let's do 100 push-ups. The ability to be disciplined and motivated comes from consistency and consistently doing the tasks so you know what the reward is like. You know what the reward is like for being disciplined, and you can viscerally visualize it, just like how you can viscerally visualize what it's like to play games and watch anime all night. It makes you happy, right? You're literally thinking about it and you have like a little deep sense of joy and you're just like, oh, giggly. That's how you should feel with work as well, because it's so much more fulfilling than those things. Create a life where the hard things don't need to be hard, where your brain stops begging for shortcuts and starts craving growth. And half the battle of a dopamine detox is your impulse control. It's this ability to control when you have the gratification, the short term or the long term. Do you want to delay the gratification or do you want it now? Do you want the 1 marshmallow now or in 15 minutes? And all throughout today, I've been talking about visualization because that is how you actually resist temptation. It's by visualizing the rewards of the disciplinary task. Because out of the 50 children who were tasked with waiting 15 minutes for 2 marshmallows rather than eating 1 marshmallow right there, only 5 actually waited. But when they were able to visualize the rewards and how their parents would react when they saw that they would, wait. When they visualized the rewards of 2 marshmallows over 1 and how delicious that'll be, that's twice the reward. They were able to consistently actually wait to the point where out of the 50 children, over 35 waited simply by visualizing and viscerally thinking about the rewards of the good task. Now, what I don't want you to do is to think about the bad task and avoiding it, because that is how you continue to do it. When I tell you to not think of a black cat, the very first thing is you think about a black cat. When I tell you to stop watching anime, the very first thing you repeat in your brain is to watch anime. What you want to do instead is think about the good habit. What is it? It's to be consistent with my good habits. It's to be consistent with meditation. It's to be disciplined. And so when you have the urge to want to watch anime, you tell yourself not that you don't want to watch anime, but you want to succeed and you want to feel disciplined. So it's very important to construct this visualization and use this visualization technique when you are offered a temptation within your brain. The second thing that can help with impulse control is meditation. And I'm sure that you don't really understand the benefits of it as much as you think. You just know that it's kind of good for you and you're more self-aware. So when you have those cravings and you feel you can't even control your body and you just do it and it's like you're watching someone else do the task, what meditation allows you to do is to ground yourself at that moment. So you have the self-awareness to recognize this temptation and resist it. It's to recognize the temptation to play games and resist it. That's what meditation helps with. And even 1 minute of meditation every single day for a week will give you 10 times more willpower than you have right now, because the effects of the bad habits multiply and they have an exponential growth in your own destruction. But that is also true for the reverse and the consistency of the good habits, because 1 minute of meditation for 1 week is worth 100 times more than 1 hour of meditation once a week. The consistency is what creates the compound effect that will change your life. And the very last tool that you can use is discipline, and the way to improve it is through sleeping consistently. Not a lot, but consistently, meaning every single day you have the same bedtime and same wake up time, and you stick to it like an autist. When you sleep at irregular intervals, you create inconsistency and signal to your body that your environment isn't safe enough to sleep in, and your ancestral instincts think that you're being chased by a predator or there's some sort of thing wrong with your environment, putting you in a state of survival which is not productive in any way. The only way mankind was able to make the progress they made in the last 200 years compared to the last 10,000 years was because they eliminated the need to actually think about survival. And so they were able to exercise higher order thinking, conceptual and very useful things like science. Very useful things for you would be meditation, deep work, etc., etc. If you can both master your motivation and use discipline when necessary and make sure that it's so easy that it's no longer hard to do, then you will be successful and you will be able to leave the rut that you're in right now and be consistent with the habits that you want to. Start small, stay consistent.